What's up, guys? This is Coach Grant with First Down Training, and welcome to another episode of our First Down Training show. Today, we're going to be talking about why football may not be fun for you anymore. So we're going to be talking about coaches that maybe take away your passion for the game, why you maybe feel like you're not where you want to be, you feel like you're not achieving your goals, and how that can kind of take the passion out of the game as well, and some things that you could do to cope with that and get over that feeling, because that feeling is totally normal and totally natural. Then we're going to get into some current events. We're going to talk about a recent interview Bill Belichick did where he talked about his relationship in the locker room, in the film room with Tom Brady. Then we're going to be going over some of your guys' questions that you asked on a previous episode. So I appreciate you guys tuning in. Let's get started. So a totally normal feeling that a lot of football players have, especially at the high school level, middle school level, is they feel like the game's just not fun. You know, I am a firm believer that everybody started playing football for the exact same reason. They enjoyed the game, maybe they had a natural skill for the game, they loved watching it, they wanted to play, and they viewed football as something fun that they wanted to do. Now, I'm an extremely competitive individual. I feel like if you're doing something, you should do it to win. You should do it to be the best at what you do, or at least attempt to be the best at what you do. And a lot of times people say like, oh no, football is just about having fun, yada, yada. And like, you know, I get that and I get that perspective. I'm more of a like, hey, we play to win. But at the same time, football needs to be fun. You need to enjoy your job, because at the end of the day, football, like if you're doing anything in life, like take it from me, like I make tons of videos every single day or constantly putting out content. If I didn't enjoy what I did, I wouldn't put in the kind of effort that I do, because it's hard work, right? And I'm not saying that my job's harder than some dude who's working a 12-hour shift on a construction site. That's hard work. But you know, it's a lot, and it's a lot of time that you put into something. And in football, there are very, very hard days. There are days where you're going to feel like not wanting to get out of bed and going to practice. There are going to be days where you don't want to go to the lift in the off season. And you know, if you don't love football, it's going to make it very, very tough to get up and go do that. Then you start missing practices, you start missing trainings, you start missing workouts, because you're just simply not enjoying what you're doing. Now, there are a lot of factors that tie into why certain football players don't enjoy what they're doing, and that's what we're going to get into today. But I want you to understand that that's a normal feeling, and that's a feeling that I went through as a player, and hopefully my experiences that I share with you guys can help you with that. So the most common thing I hear from athletes is probably having to do with like a coach making them lose passion for a game. I think every athlete individually is different, obviously, right? There's not a one-size-fits-all way to coach an athlete, but in a team perspective, it's a little bit different, because you know, you're trying to build a culture, you're trying to talk to a room of guys, so it's more like players have to adapt to the coach's style. I do individualized training, right? So I know each athlete that I work with on a weekly basis, how to coach them, how to get the most out of them. Some guys like a little bit more hard coaching, where I'm on them about little details and I'm fired up and I try to get in their face a little bit more. And then some athletes, I have to slowly walk them through things and be very kind when I talk to them. But in high school, middle school ball, team environments, especially in college, they're not going to coddle you. They're not going to adapt to a single individual player. Some coaches might, but most coaches don't. So I think a lot of people lose passion for the game because they get a coach whose style they maybe don't like. And at the end of the day, you cannot take it personally. See, I was always a player that, I was a very emotional player, let's put it that way. And that's something that I wish I would have been a little bit better about. But you know, whenever a coach would get pissed off at me and scream at me, tell me, that's awful, it sucks, yada, yada, you know, start cussing at me, whatever the case may be, I would always, as a player, get very, very pissed off and almost like confrontational with that guy. Be like, man, F this dude, like, I don't even want to talk to this guy, like, you know what I mean? I would have that response, and I'd have to put myself in check and be like, hey, I can't respond that way, because I was a quarterback, and as a quarterback, your teammates are counting on you to carry yourself a certain way. So I had to take a lot of those bullets, and you got to take those, and you have to be strong when taking those bullets from coaches, and that made me lose a lot of passion for the game. It really did. Like, I've never once hated football until I came across a coach that acted like that, and that was my freshman year in high school, and that was really, I had those thoughts in my head, like, man, is football even really for me? Do I even enjoy this? Do I even want to keep playing this? Why am I putting myself through this? And ultimately, I stuck it out. I obviously wouldn't be talking to you if I didn't stick it out. But the thing that you got to understand as a player is that that's the way the coach communicates. That's the way of him trying to get the most out of you. You cannot take it personally. Now, there are ways to handle it. I think sometimes coaches can get on players and they maybe don't have the like right type of education on certain things, if that makes sense. Like I know I work with a lot of quarterbacks one-on-one, and quarterbacks will tell me that my coach is constantly on me about like holding the ball up by my ear, which we all know is wrong. He says that my release is too long or something like that. And maybe the coach doesn't necessarily know what he's talking about. He's not the most well-versed, and he doesn't have the best way of coaching an athlete, and he gets on them a certain way. And athletes get very, very frustrated with that. And that's what makes them ultimately lose that passion for the game. And when it's that situation, you got to go in one ear, out the other ear. I think with coaches like that, and I'm not telling you to be disobedient to your coach and be some renegade and act like you don't care, but it should just be, yes, sir, and then go back to doing what you know is correct. You have to execute your job at the end of the day. If you're saying yes, sir, and doing it your way and you're not getting the job done, that's a different conversation. But if that coach is constantly on you, constantly riding you, in one ear, out the other ear, yes, sir, and do what you need to do. Because I feel like when you have, like, let's say you have a private trainer who you trust, who's giving you a lot of results, is teaching you a way to do things, and you trust his input, I would stick with that rather than taking a million different inputs from a bunch of different people and trying to cater to each individual coach. A lot of times coaches don't understand that. Like, I can't stand it. Like, in the middle of the season, you'll get a coach who's trying to change a quarterback's mechanics. Like, do you know how hard it is to change a quarterback's mechanics? Like it's literally, it takes thousands upon thousands of reps to change something like that, and coaches still do it. And it's not just the quarterback position, the receiver position, linemen, linebackers, etc. So if you're in that situation, just in one ear, out the other ear, yes, sir, I'll do my best, and that's that. Now, if you got a coach who's, maybe just getting on you about scheme, getting on you about plays, and he's a fiery dude, what the piece of advice I could give to you is that he's acting that way because he cares. Sometimes coaches can be completely out of pocket, and you're going to come across people like that in your life and anything that you do. People who are just pissed off at the world for absolutely no reason. They wake up with something to prove. They wake up with a chip on their shoulder, and everybody's a target to them. You're going to, and I've come across a lot of people like that in my day, and I'm not even that old. So you got to just understand that sometimes that happens, and that's always best to just ignore the noise. Don't let that type of situation affect your passion for the game and passion for what you do. But if it's a coach who's just fiery and he's kind of a hard-ass type guy and expects a lot of you, you got to understand that when he stops yelling at you, that's when there's a problem. He's doing it because he cares and because he expects a lot out of you. So I feel like a lot of athletes are just a lot of kids nowadays are very sensitive to criticism. I feel like they get criticized, they get told something, and then they feel like, oh man, he doesn't know what he's talking about, yada, yada. Like, sometimes the coaches do know what they're talking about. And what I recommend is just understanding that when he stops yelling at you, that's when he doesn't care about you, and that's not good. So you have to just take that with a grain of salt. You got to take the bullets sometimes, and I always recommend never talking back, never giving a reason, just, yes, sir, I understand, and then try to fix the mistake. And if he sees that you were trying to fix the mistake, he's just doing that to expect a lot out of you. So, like I said, I've had a lot of coaches as players, and I feel like certain coaches kind of take away that passion and love for the game. You just have to understand that they're doing it from a place of expecting a lot out of you. They want you to be great. They want you to be better. And that's just what I recommend you have to understand. So I hope that makes sense. Now, another thing that maybe kills players' passion for the game is that they set these monster goals for themselves. Like, let's say you're a high school freshman watching this, and let's say you want to play Division I level football. And I mean, that's a great goal to have. That's a goal that I had as a player. And I think a lot of people set that goal, and they maybe don't know the steps that are required to get to that goal. So they get very discouraged when they're not at that goal the next month. You know what I mean? If you're a freshman and you're setting out to play D1 ball, like, that's a full-time commitment. Like, you can't do things that other students in your school would normally do. You're not going out on the weekends and partying all night on a Saturday and sleeping super late on Sunday and then not getting anything done on Sunday, then at Monday you roll into practice. You're not doing that. Some guys maybe have natural ability and they maybe get away with that, but long term, that is not sustainable. When they get to college, those are usually the guys that are bouncing around the transfer portal every 6 months, and those are the guys that end up going to like a JUCO bounce back. Again, it's all about decisions and being responsible. So if your goal is to make it to D1, you need to do the steps required to get you to that D1 level. And that means, you're staying late after practice, you're training on the weekends, you're playing in 7-on-7 teams, you're going up against DBs if you're a receiver, you're doing competition type stuff, you're working in the gym constantly. It's an everyday thing. You're making sure your grades are on point. It's a lifestyle. Everybody says that, but nobody actually explains what that is, right? So I think a lot of athletes lose a passion for the game because they feel like they're not reaching their goal fast enough. Like, everybody's journey is a little bit different. Some people are naturally, genetically a little bit more gifted than others, have a little bit more natural talent than others. But like, if you feel like that's your goal, you should set daily, weekly, and monthly goals for yourself that keep you on that track so you don't get discouraged and you feel like you're accomplishing something. I think a lot of people quit too early and lose passion for what they are doing just simply because they don't have those like daily checklist items to get them where they need to go. Like, obviously, like, my goal for me personally, let's just talk about where I'm at in my life specifically. Like, my goal is just like a business person. I want to turn First Down Training. I feel like we already have, but I want this thing to be huge. I want to have different training facilities, like 100-yard turf, indoor facilities all across the country. My goal is just like a personal goal of mine is I want my family to have like financial security. Obviously, I want us to be able to not worry about money like how maybe I did when I was growing up. Those are goals of myself, right? And those are very, very big goals that I am not going to achieve overnight. Every day, it's a constant thing. I want to work at. I set goals for myself. Cross that goal off. I did that. I did that. I did that. So each day, I know I'm moving closer to my goal. A lot of athletes lose passion for what they're doing because they're not D1 the next day. They're not Division I player. They're not getting college notoriety the next day. It is an everyday thing. You got to pretend there's a big rock in front of you, huge boulder, and on the other side of the boulder is where you want to go, and every day you got 10 swings at that boulder to crack that thing open. And if you can just stay on that schedule and stay disciplined, stay focused, I feel like your passion for the game is going to stay because you're going to appreciate the journey much more than like the destination. And I know, again, that's kind of a cliche thing that everybody says, but if you're struggling with that motivation, you're struggling, you're hating practice, you're hating going to the gym, it's because you feel like you have no direction. Set a goal for yourself. Doesn't need to be D1. It could just be a scholarship. It could just be I want to start on varsity. What are the steps to get you to that point? And you need to stay on that schedule, okay? Now, another thing that I personally like to talk a lot about with the athletes that I train, and why a lot of athletes lose passion for the game, and it's also kind of directly related to the goals that you set for yourself, is the comparison game that you guys play on social media. Now, obviously, you're watching this on YouTube, right? That's a social media platform, and I'm not saying all social media is bad. There are a lot of positives of social media, right? There's places where you can get information, like what you're watching right here. There's that like escapism where maybe you could watch something that, because life is hard, guys. Like you have a tough day, like whatever situation that you're in with your family, maybe a relative died, maybe whatever, and you go on social media, you watch some guy's thing, and it kind of takes your mind off of the crap that you got to deal with in the real world, right? And obviously, there are a lot, like I said, there's some humor elements of social media, etc. But the thing that a lot of athletes fall into is they start comparing themselves to other athletes that are their age on social media. So everybody's seen the social media accounts, like the QB plug is one of them, and you know, whatever you think about that guy, what, fine. But like you see the videos like, this 2028 quarterback has 10 Division I offers, like crap like that. And it's just like, I hate those types of things because quarterbacks who maybe are at a different point in their journey will see that and be like, damn, man, he's got 10 offers already. He's my age, like he's 6'2", like, you know, they get discouraged, they get down on themselves, and they start to lose passion for the game, and football becomes not fun anymore. And I'm telling you right now, you can't do that. I personally, like, let's say I have a son, right? And he wants to play football. Like, I'm probably not letting that dude even have a phone. Like, I might be a tyrant of a parent, but I'm not even going to let that guy have a phone, to be quite honest with you, until he's like 13 years old. Because I don't want him to see that crap when he's younger, get that engraved in his mind, and he's comparing himself to other people. Like, I want him to just work as hard as he possibly can, improve his skills, and then when it's time to maybe start like opening up like recruiting, things of that nature, yeah, then maybe he gets on social media to learn certain things, whatever. Maybe I monitor it very, very strict as a parent, right? That's if I had a kid, right? And I think a lot of athletes, they see that and they're just constantly watching other people. They're watching other people work out with trainers. They're watching other people get the scholarship offers. And that's doing so much damage to just your mindset. Focus on your game. You truly know, like, and some people might say, well, like, oh, I compare myself to other guys to see where they're at, and so I know what I need to work on and where I need to be, and that's fine. It's fine to have that attitude, but like, you know what you need to do to be the caliber of a football player, caliber of an athlete that you have goals to be. Right? Like, let's say you're a wide receiver and you want to be a D1 level wide receiver. You know you got to get bigger. You know you got to get faster. You know you got to work on your route running, your hands, your football IQ. You know all the things that you have to do. And every day, that is what you should be focused on. What do I have to do? Not what other people are doing on social media and what other people are posting, because 99% of the stuff you see out there is all BS. The 8th graders with the offers, it's BS. It's not a real offer, you guys. You cannot receive a legitimate scholarship offer until the summer before your junior year. So a lot of people see that and they get discouraged, they lose their passion when it's really not even real. It's fabricated. It's all for clicks, it's all for views. Those accounts that post those videos, they're just in it for likes. They're in it for selfish purposes. They're not trying to educate, entertain, do anything for anybody. And most of the time, those players pay those accounts, so those accounts will post about them to get them more exposure and more notoriety. So stop paying attention to other people on social media, guys. Focus on your game. Focus on what you need to do as an athlete to actually improve your skills, and I promise you, you're going to get that love again for the process, and you're going to get that love again for football. These are all things that I struggled with, you guys. All things that I struggled with. And the happiest I was playing football is when I was just in my head and in my lane, focused on what I needed to do. I could care less about anybody else. And you'll still see it. It'll still pop up here and there, but you have to guard your mind. You have to stay laser focused on what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, and the goals that you have set for yourself. And I promise you that passion for football will come back, and you'll be a much more, like I guess you could say, enjoyable athlete, an enjoyable athlete to be around, especially with your teammates. So I hope that makes sense, guys. I hope that kind of clears up some things, especially if you're battling, going through that. I've been there, trust me, and every single athlete that I've worked with has been there. I've had heart-to-heart conversations with hundreds of athletes who have talked to me about quitting football, stop playing football. Stick to your guns. You know what you want to do. You know you love football. That's why you got into it in the first place, and that's what you have to get back to, okay? So I hope that makes sense, fellas. Now, before we get into some current events, you guys, if you are a quarterback or wide receiver watching this video and you would like to train with myself and my staff of coaches, we're going to be traveling out to 4 more cities this offseason for 2-day-long QB and wide receiver training camps this year. So if you go to that very first link in the description below, that's where you can sign up. Our next camp is going to be in Boston, Massachusetts. Then after that, we'll be heading out to Columbus, Ohio. Then we'll be going to Boise, Idaho, and finishing off our camp tour in Los Angeles, California. Our Boston, Columbus, and LA camps are completely full, you guys, but if you go to the link in our description below, the very first one, there's an email address on our website where you can contact us to be added to a wait list if you guys have not signed up yet. In Boise, we have about 6 spots remaining, and those spots will fill up within the next week. So if you guys are in the Boise area or near there, want to train with us for 2 full days, again, guys, very first link in that description below. We'd love to have you out. We really enjoy having you come out to our camps. Anybody watching this who's attended a camp, we really appreciate all the support. So, guys, let's get into some current events. So, current event number 1, what we got here is we have Bill Belichick on why he purposely called out Tom Brady during film sessions with the team. If I didn't point him out, then everybody walks out there feeling like they got yelled at except for him. When I could make points to Tom, then Tom could say, hey, fellas, he said the same thing to me too. So guys, this is something that's pretty cool to see, and this is like, again, we talked about it earlier in this episode about coaches and how coaches, you know, like will be fiery, expect a lot out of you, they're hard on you. Even the best in the world, Tom Brady, greatest football player of all time, arguably, at least in my opinion, was getting coached hard by his coaching staff. And again, it's all about how you respond to that. Tom Brady could have had the attitude of, man, I'm Tom Brady, like, what do you know? I know more than you do. Like, he's Tom Brady, you know what I mean? But even Tom Brady makes mistakes in practice. Even Tom Brady screws up, and coaches are hard on him. And how does he respond to it? He takes the coaching, he uses that as fuel, he fixes the mistake, and then he's on to the next day. Athletes, that's how you guys have to respond to coaches giving you a hard time. If coaches are giving you a hard time, good. You want that. You want to be coached hard. You have to understand that there's like 2 types of athletes. Athletes that will shut down with criticism, and athletes who will take that criticism, use it as fuel, and then use it to actually improve their skills. And that's ultimately what they want. You want hard coaching. You want coaches to be hard on you. I treat this like, I know right off the bat in my training sessions what athletes are going to gel well with me and what athletes won't. Athletes who come in with an ego and think that they're better than everybody and think that they've accomplished something even when they're in high school. I don't care how many offers you have. I don't care if you have no offers or 50 offers. If you come in thinking that you're better than everybody else, you're not going to like the way I coach, because the way I coach is very detail-oriented. I feel every athlete has flaws. Even NFL caliber athletes that I've worked with and talked with, I feel every athlete has flaws, and I'm looking for those flaws, and I'm going to tell you what those are, and I'm going to expect a lot out of you. And some athletes like that. Some athletes want that. Some other athletes don't. What type of athlete are you going to be? The greatest of all time is the second one, where he's taken the coaching points, or I should say the first one. He's the athlete where he's taken the coaching points, applying it, and getting better and improving his skills. That's what you need to focus on as a player, so I hope that makes sense. Now, we're going to get into some of your guys' questions, fellas. So guys, if you have questions, stuff you want to ask me and be featured on another episode of our show, go to the comment section below, post your questions there, guys. I will feature you on an episode. All the questions that we do on our shows are from your guys' comments on past episodes. So I'll respond to every comment, and I will feature them on this episode if I feel like it can give everybody watching some value. So again, guys, I appreciate you tuning in. Really, really appreciate the support. Let's get into some of your guys' questions. So, question number 1 from Gavin D9F3X. Should I do the gym work before or after the field and speed work? So if you're trying to differentiate gym work, field work, speed work in your workout schedule, what I recommend is doing gym work after the field stuff. At the end of the day, we're football players, right? And what's most important is our skills. We're not bodybuilders, we're not power lifters. That's not our primary source. Yes, is it important to be strong? Yes, is it important to have size and to put on size? Abso-freaking-lutely. However, you need to make sure that your skill work is taking priority. So if you can, I would do the skill work first and then do the gym work after. You don't want to do the gym workout and be super tired with your legs, your upper body, then go to the field and maybe not get as much out of that workout as you can. As well as speed and agility training, that should take, I shouldn't say priority because they're all important, but you should do that first so you get more out of that. And I'm not saying to slack off in the gym, but I feel like your gym work will still be the same if your field work was where it was. Okay, so I hope that makes sense, man. Appreciate you asking that question. Next question from Amplify. What are you doing? I'm 5'6", 240 pounds, recently started working out and want to play quarterback for my senior year. Any tips on how to become a better quarterback without having any experience on the field? So, I mean, if you're 5'6", 240, you got to cut down in weight. So if you're an athlete and you need to lose weight, there are two things that I recommend that you do. Number one, higher intensity workouts in the gym. So what I mean by higher intensity, I mean like high reps, so like maybe like a 12 to 15 rep range, and then low rest time. Because that low rest time, that puts you in a fat burning zone. It's more of like a cardio-centric type workout, and that will help you burn fat and maybe start to slim down a little bit. Now, second thing that's gonna help you lose weight as an athlete is your diet. Something that helped me out a lot, like especially because I'm not the biggest guy in the world, so when I was playing, I was closer to like 180 pounds, but I wasn't the most athletic 180. I had a lot of excess like fat, if you will. And again, I'm not super overweight or anything like that. I never was. I was always fairly lean, fairly toned, but something that helped me drop that fat after my playing career was done was I switched to eating only single ingredient foods. So I got rid of all processed foods and all processed sugars. So I never, and again, you don't have to always do this. It's okay to have a cheat meal every now and then, but if you want to drop weight, I would cut out all sugars, like ice cream, cookies, candy, all that stuff, like sodas. Cut that stuff out. That's not natural. That's not good for your body. Second thing is I would stop eating the chips, you know, the crackers, the things that came in wrappers. Single ingredient foods, eggs, chicken, bell pepper. Stuff like that, where it's actually natural. And again, there's some, you know, arguments that will say like, oh, well, in America, they spray a bunch of crap on our food and our food's not that healthy. And that's a fair argument, but I would try to eat as much natural food as you possibly can, single ingredient foods, and I promise you that fat is going to drop off, okay? So I hope that makes sense, dude. I hope that was able to help you out. Next question from Style1L90. Can you make a video for high school freshmen that are starting football for the 2025-2026 season with a guide for gear, what position to play, and tips? So if you were a freshman and you were going into your first season of football, so if you're looking for gear, what I recommend, there's like if you're a skill position player, there's a pair of shoulder pads that I recommend called 2-in-1 shoulder pads, which is essentially where you put a vest on and then a plate over the vest. Insane range of motion. You could touch your hands over your head. Catching passes easier if you're a skill position player. If you're not a skill player, I recommend either Zenith or X-Tech pads. I think that would be great for you as far as like gear goes. Then for a helmet, 3 helmets I recommend. Vices, if you're a skill position player, they came out with this new like quarterback type face mask where there's more vision. A little bit on the expensive side of things though, helmets are expensive. And then I recommend like a Speed Flex or a Schutt F7, which is actually lighter than a Speed Flex if you're looking for something light. Now, freshman football, what you can expect at practice, I would say probably practice is broken up into a few different parts. Number one, you're going to get there and you'll probably do some type of skill work, so they'll break you off into your position groups with your position coach. Then you'll get into like, let's say you're a receiver, you'll do routes versus air, then you'll do one-on-ones, then you'll do 7-on-7, then you'll do team run, which is where it's all run plays, and then probably full team with some special teams periods sprinkled in between. So that's kind of what you can expect at practice and what you can ultimately prepare for mentally to give you that kind of like feeling, or give you that like feel for how things are going to go. So that's how practice would be, man, but as a freshman, it's totally normal to feel maybe a little anxious, so I was hoping that I was able to help you out, and we'll definitely make a more detailed video on that. So guys, that's the end of our show. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hope this was able to give you some value. Hope you guys are able to learn something from this. And again, if you guys have questions, stuff you want to ask me on our next episode to be featured, go ahead, guys, post those in the comment section below. We love interacting with you guys, and we love talking with you. I'll see you next time.